We want them to go back into the classroom with their boy classmates and be confident to raise their hand and answer the question. And we've had girls say to us, you know, before this class, I wouldn't have raised my hand, but now I raise my hand because I know the answer. I can bring it into the classroom and I feel more confident. Girls have a superpower, and that's their interest and excitement about, you know, when they come into something and they see it, they get so passionate about it. So take that passion and use it to follow something that you love and pursue it, and seek out mentors, seek out other people, either older girls or women who are in the fields that you're interested in, and talk to them about it, find out about it, educate yourself about it.
To another episode of Women Investing in Women. Robin and I take great delight and honor to week after week feature different women from different walks of life, making impact in their own way, in their own circles. Our goal is to celebrate them, honor them, and bring their message forward so that we are bringing the women who are making an impact together, so that the impact is amplified, the collaboration and the co-creation actually accelerates the impact we're making, and together we go further for longer. And today we are going to be talking about science and STEM and the importance of women in science and STEM bringing girls along for the journey, because it is only when we intergenerationally work together, we're going to shift the momentum, we're going to shift the dynamics. And United Nations Sustainable Development Goals includes empowering girls and bringing women into the fold. And the economic impact of just doing that is $7 trillion US. There is a huge benefit to all of humanity, and it starts with women and girls. And you're going to love today's conversation, so hang in there. And Robin, take it away.
Yes, absolutely. I am beyond thrilled to have Rebecca Singer on our program. And we just met online, both of us attending a webinar about nonprofit organizations. And she mentioned that she works with Full STEAM, STEAM, Forward, an organization that helps young girls learn more about the sciences, the arts and sciences, and use that to improve their future outcomes in life. Completely blown away. And so I absolutely wanted to have her as a guest on our program because she absolutely fits what we're all about. And so, Rebecca, tell us about Full Steam Forward and how you got involved with it.
I am happy to do that. And first, thank you very much for allowing me this opportunity to share the story of Full Steam Forward with you and your listeners. So Full Steam Forward actually started during the pandemic. I was with a group of actually women who invest in other women entrepreneurs. So we had a venture capital firm that we were working with. And when the pandemic hit, the head of the venture capital firm got us all together on a Zoom call and said, you know, let's put our heads together. Let's put our experiences, our Rolodexes. What can we do here to help the situation? And several of us were very interested in doing something in education because we were seeing what was going on, especially in New York City. We were all in and around New York City with education, with schools being closed. And we really wanted to find a way to help the girls, ultimately girls, but help the children in education. So I'm a scientist, but we have educators that came along to help start it. We have women in business who joined us. And the idea was, you know, what can we do online to help these girls? And we put our heads together and decided that we wanted to create a STEAM program, which is STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math, plus the arts. And we included the arts because it helps with creative problem solving. So we had my co-founder, Joni Bessler, had already created a program for children, but it was a face-to-face program. So we decided we were going to put our heads together and figure out how to make it an online program. We sent out flyers to Teach for America, asking teachers to recommend students. So of course, this is all with everything closed down. We ordered supplies through Amazon. We got computers for the girls. We signed everybody up, shipped them out, and we did a 2-week summer camp with 12 third and fourth grade girls. And we got them on a screen for 4 hours every day, learning about science, doing experiments. We had the best time. It was really a wonderful experience. And the families asked us to keep going. They said, the girls are loving this. What can we do to keep this going? And so from that was born an after-school enrichment program that we run now. We have classes in New York City, in Philadelphia, and in Washington, D.C. And the girls come in for an hour and a half each week and learn about a specific topic in science, and then do a hands-on experiment. And the idea is to teach them something about science, but also get them passionate about science, excited about it, build their self-confidence in it, and really hopefully plant a seed that will grow in them to continue in as they get older and into middle school, when many, many girls actually pivot away from the sciences. Girls who even liked science decide they don't like it anymore. It's not cool anymore. So our idea is to make them so passionate and so excited about it that they pursue the coursework in that.
That is absolutely beautiful to hear. And it's amazing how much innovation came out of COVID. As a STEM woman myself, coming from a very male-dominated field, I see the value in what you're doing. And I love the fact that you're incorporating the hands-on experimentation, because it creates an interactive way of learning. It's not just intellectual, right? So you're engaging the feeling, the doing, the whole human experience. How do you get them engaged in a virtual setting with the mind, body, and heart in a way that they feel engaged and connected? Because sometimes individuals struggle that if I'm not in person, I don't know how to do it. So how you're doing it might be very insightful for a lot of people.
Sure. And it's a great question. And obviously, it's very different today than it was during COVID, when many of these girls had never been on a screen before, certainly not on a Zoom call before, right? So we were very fortunate to have engaged with a young woman who was working in the online educational spaces, who gave us a tutorial on what you need to do to engage children online. And a lot of it is being very interactive, right? Reaching out to the students, asking them questions. We always do a physical activity. We get them up, we get them moving around, things like that. But it's really, one thing that we did is we kept our class sizes small. So everybody fits on a single screen. So we have cohorts of about 14 to 16. We have a certified teacher who we actually train in how to engage online with these girls. And then we had a college-age mentor who's on as well. And so they facilitate conversations. And so we just don't lecture to the girls. We don't talk at the girls. We interact with the girls. We ask them questions. We ask them, how does this topic relate to what you're doing in your environment? And we also use literature. So for instance, when we're learning about the rainforest, we read a book about Meg Lohman, who was the first woman to map the canopy of the rainforest. So the girls read a story, her book about her life that was written about her, and her experience as a child, sort of being the only girl who was interested in playing in the trees and outside. And when she got to college, her professor told her, you don't belong here. This class is for men. It's not for women. So it tells the story of all the adversity she overcame to experience what she experiences. And then she shares the joy of being in the treetops with the animals and the birds and how beautiful it is. And it just pulls the girls in and gets them very excited about the program. And we were fortunate enough to have Meg herself come and speak to our girls virtually. Which also just really reinforced for them that it's not just a make-believe story. There's a real woman behind this, and they can aspire to be that woman as well.
That sounds so exciting. It's like, I want to join that class. And I'm really thrilled to hear you talk about this example of this woman having some adversities, this woman being told, you can't be in this class because you have to be a man. And to us today, that just sounds like, are you kidding me? But back then, that was the case. And so, how are you able to? I mean, I assume you're doing this, being able to tie to the girls. Oh, here is someone who had an adversity, and I will have an adversity, or I already have had adversities, and making that link that this is includes the sciences, but it also includes lessons for life.
Yeah, that's a great point, and they are great lessons for life. And as a scientist, and I'm sure Cass can relate to this, most of what you do is failure, right? You don't launch your experiment and get it right the first time. You launch it 100 times, and at the 101st time, it finally works, right? So it's all about iterations. It's all about accepting that that's part of the process. So we go into this with the girls, explaining to them that failure is part of the process. It's how you make progress, and that it's okay. In fact, it's encouraged that you experiment, you create a hypothesis, and then you test it and you see what happens. And I agree with you, Robin. It's a great, I think, a great way to look at the world in general through the eyes of a scientist, right? It's very objective. It's, what do I think's going to happen? Then I'm going to test it and see if it happens. And if it doesn't happen, I'm going to go back and recreate my hypothesis and say, you know, what went wrong and what should I do next? Which is a gift that I think these girls will take with them into life, having these creative problem solving skills that we're giving them. And so all of these things are just so important for young girls, including building self-esteem, right? Because that's a really important thing for them to be able to go. We want them to go back into the classroom with their boy classmates and be confident to raise their hand and answer the question. And we've had girls say to us, you know, before this class, I wouldn't have raised my hand, but now I raise my hand because I know the answer. I can bring it into the classroom and I feel more confident. And we just see that bubble up through them over the course of the programming. We also bring in guest speakers. So we bring in every month women of color in STEM fields who share their own experiences. And often many of them will share the trials that they went through as a youngster, you know, and wanting to participate in a class maybe and being told, or an after school program and seeing only boys in there and feeling like they didn't belong, so they didn't join. So we give the girls many opportunities through the literature, through our guest speakers, through our interactions in the program to see what it's like to get over something that, you know, that's an obstacle that's put in your way, and how you can overcome it or go around it or whatever you need to do to get past it.
As you're talking about this, what's coming up for me, Rebecca, is as these girls show up differently in class, it's also slowly changing the boys. Boys are no longer growing up believing that these are the things only boys do, girls don't do this. And when girls show up differently, they are transforming the boys too. So as we help girls take this journey, how are you seeing the microcosm of their own generation change, and what do you hope to get out of it? The reason I ask this question is the more we empower girls and the more we build them for future forward, if we don't help our boys, we're not creating a supportive partnership for boys and girls when they grow up to be men and women as husband and wife partners in society, right? So what can we do to make sure, as much as we're empowering the women and the girls, what can we do for the boys? As we no longer have a hunter-gatherer society, you don't need physical strength and might to do things. And the boys are in a way feeling left behind.
Um, I like how you started off by saying that, you know, we want the boys to see that the girls are just as capable. So I think having the girls in the classroom raising their hand and participating is the first step for them, sort of sitting back and looking over and saying like, wow, you know, look at, she knows what we're talking about here. One thing I will share, and this has to do with the parents, but when our program that we started with a 2-week online summer camp for students over the summer of 2020 during COVID. Many of the parents were home, so they were seeing the program. They were seeing their child interact online with our teachers and our mentors, our guest speaker. We had somebody come on. So what was great was when we interviewed the families after the 2 weeks, we had many of the fathers come and sit next to their daughters and talk about how proud they were of their daughters and how they didn't know that they were interested in science. It's almost as if they didn't think it was something, you know, that they would have any sense. So they now looked as if we're going to encourage this because they see the interest and the passion. And I think a lot of family members were surprised by how enthralled their daughters became. And, you know, this is back in 2020. We now have an alumni program. Those girls are still with us. We still do field trips with them and engage with them because we want to keep that energy, that excitement about that passion for the sciences going. Because part of what we ultimately want for these girls is to become part of the STEM workforce. You know, the United States is not going to have enough workers to fill all the jobs that we're creating now. The only way we're going to do that is by increasing the ranks of women in the STEM workforce, especially women of color who are less than 8% of the STEM workforce right now. So I think bringing more women into the field and just men seeing their capacity, their capabilities, the way they think outside the box in many ways. I know as a scientist, I was always appreciative of the feedback I got from a broad variety of people because you need to have creative ideas and everybody thinks about things differently. Men approach some questions and some things differently than women do. And so having that mix together, solving problems is going to be the key for the future. And I think that, you know, for boys to see these confident girls out there doing these things just like them and contributing is going to, I hope, come a long way in changing those attitudes around.
That's really great. We love that full spectrum of changing the attitudes, not only on the girls about themselves, but about the boys and how they view the girls and vice versa, back and forth. I'm going to do a tiny little pivot here. I love the sciences, but my training is really in the arts and music. And so, and a little bit in literature, but I'm wondering, so I was beyond thrilled to see that you'd moved from STEM to STEAM. And it totally, so I'm wondering, how do you, what types of arts, you've already talked about literature, but how do you bring the arts in? And what was it that motivated you to bring the arts in and not just leave it at STEM?
Great question. So the original program I mentioned earlier in our conversation that my co-founder, Joni Bessler, had basically a curriculum that was written. Well, it was written by a professor from Juilliard. So he automatically was bringing in all of the arts and everything that comes into using both sides of your brain. That was the idea, is what we want to engage both sides of the brain because that's the most creative way to solve problems. And so in the program itself, we have art projects that the girls do. So when we're studying ice caps, we send them some model magic and some little polar bears, and they create a landscape. You know, when we're talking about solar power energy, we have them build a house that is, you know, has all these, you know, the solar panels or something to heat the water that uses thermal conduction. There's different ways. They do composting, all of those things. So we had a great trip to the Met last year. We took our older students, our 4th and 5th graders, to the Met because I wanted them to see all the beautiful art up top, but then we took them down into the basement of the Met where all the scientists are, and 70% of their scientists down there are women. So it was really wonderful to take them down to meet the female scientists underneath the Met who do real scientific experiments on all the beautiful art that's up top. And they learned about that and they were able to do an experiment there at the Met. So we just bring it in, we weave it through as much as we can. through our literature, through our art projects, just a sense of creativity.
That is such an important aspect, Rebecca, and I'm loving it because research shows that when we integrate arts with the sciences, we grow up to be better humans, right? We are more moral, cognitively aware. We make better humane choices. And as humans, we are more resilient too. We're more tolerant and we're more resilient. So I love the fact that you're not forgetting that. And ultimately, whether it's music, music is physics, it's sound waves. Art is colors and how by combining the three primary colors, you can get all the shades. They're all scientific in a way, but then applies creativity, right? So I'm loving what I'm hearing. How can people get a hold of you? And what advice would you have for parents to integrate their children into a STEAM kind of environment?
Well, I'll start with the second question. So I would really encourage parents to seek out programs. There are lots of programs out there. We're one of the few that start in third grade. Many of them are middle school or high school programs, but I would encourage parents, especially parents of girls, to start early. You need to make them passionate about and excited and just, enthralled by the study of science before they get to middle school, where they tend to just pivot away. That's what all the studies have shown. So I would encourage them to pursue it, and you can do it as a family. You can go to the zoo, and while you're there looking at the animals, you can talk about the habitat. What do you think about animals living in this habitat? Does this make sense? Does this look good for them? What do we think about that? Take them to the planetarium. All those trips will excite them and get them interested in it. And then I would say, if you can pursue enrolling them in a program. We have online programs, but we also now have in-person programs. So in-person would be great, but online we've had great success with it as well. And it works for a lot of parents who aren't able to get their children to an after-school program. In terms of finding out more about Full Steam Forward, we have a great website at www.fullsteamforward.org. Just like it sounds, right? FULLSTEAMFORWARD.org. And we've got a whole bunch of pages there that talk about the program, why it's important, what our ultimate goal is, and specifics about the program. We don't engage with families individually. We work through schools to locate our parents. So if they want to talk to us about bringing a program to their school, there's a contact us thing, and they can mention the school name and who to reach for, and we can reach for them. Like I said, we're in DC, New York City, and Philadelphia, so we can bring programs to those schools.
Beautiful. And what, as we say with every guest, the time absolutely flies by. And do you have one tiny golden nugget that you'd like to share with the girls and the women and the mothers who might be listening to this program? This is something that these young girls need to know and believe. And then Cass will wrap it up.
Sure. I would say that they should always know that they are capable of anything. Girls have a superpower, and that's their interest and excitement about, when they come into something and they see it, they get so passionate about it. So take that passion and use it to follow something that you love and pursue it, and seek out mentors, seek out other people, either older girls or women who are in the fields that you're interested in, and talk to them about it, find out about it, educate yourself about it.
Thank you so much for making the time to sit down and talk to us, Rebecca. And we are so grateful for the work you're doing, because you truly are shaping the future and giving girls an opportunity to become what they are capable of being, something that they never even would have thought about had this organization not entered their lives. So thank you for everything you do and your organization. And to our audience out there, don't let tradition or what has been dictate what could be. That is the lesson here. Just because things were done a certain way doesn't mean it needs to stay that way. We can all think outside the box. We can all become creative, and we can all build this world the way we want to see it. So just take that leap of faith and be the change. And as women, we are here to help you, to celebrate you and support you. And let's go make this world happen.